The topic of this workshop is how you can give rise to a bigger vision from a smaller project or a smaller topic or a smaller urban issue. And I think this is important because if you look at the kind of movement map of Budapest, you see a lot of groups that are fighting for very particular issues, but there are no big urban movements. And so I think that this conversation is important for us because we are at the stage where we have citizens concerned about specific topics in the city, but they usually tend to be isolated from each other, and they are very afraid of moving into politics or moving into a larger scale, and they tend to stay with their topic because they feel it's much safer. So so we invited Dobrica Veselnovic from Belgrade, who is going to share with us his experience in Belgrade organizing a group, a movement. He will explain what it is, that started out with a very specific topic and then moved into more general political issues. And the structure of this conversation will be that Dobrica will explain the context and the movement, and I think I will insert my questions as we go along, and I urge you to also ask us questions or comments. You don't have to wait until the end, even you can ask them along the way.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon all. My name is Dobrica Veselinovic, as mentioned. If I'm talking too loud, too fast, please interrupt me, and thank you for the translation. I think also that this is a very interesting situation in Belgrade, especially because and in Serbia, because the similarities between Serbia and Hungary are plenty. So we will go, you will see similarities on the government side, and I guess we can through different questions go into details and stuff. In presentation I will talk a little bit about the context, how our movement began, and how then it develops and make an electoral list for the local elections last year, and how that develops. We will see a couple of short movies, and you will find out what is why the duck is a symbol of the movement. So how this is the Belgrade. So in 2014, we had the change in the government structure, and which also affects the city of Belgrade, and then opens the field of for the one big urban development project. Is called Belgrade Waterfront. It's promised 3 point. This is the area. So this is aerial view of Belgrade. On the left side, you see the socialist build new Belgrade, the blocks and stuff. And on the right side is the old part of the city. And the red dot. Red dot, yeah, okay. Red dot is the area of the waterfront planned at that point. Waterfront development. It's the area of the now former main railway station. It's about 100 hectares of the, as you see, centrally placed Belgrade land, which was in the ownership of the city and the state, because of the railway company, which is a state-owned company also. So this was one of the first renders that we saw in the 2014. It was widely circulated before the local elections in 2014 as an electoral promise in the like the free newspapers, which is widely circulated in the city. So it's the promise of the on that area to be built the biggest shopping mall on the Balkans. I don't know how much high rises and area of exclusive residential and office area. At that point and later on, we saw very big changes in the promises, in the time frame, in the amount of things which will be built, and also in the investment. At that point, it's 2014. We didn't have any any real information who is behind the project. It was called like, yeah, for our friends from the United Arab Emirates will invest, and some kind of big unclear scheme was behind it, which is for the Balkan politics kind of usual stuff. I know it's hard for you to understand that amount of the project is possible, and it's kind of, but it is, yeah. All of that was accompanied with a very strong PR machinery and a very strong political machinery behind it. So this was the opening of the model of the future complex, which then includes the mayor of Belgrade, the president, now president and prime minister Aleksandar Vučić, and all of the people from the political parties. That pillar, that project is so important to the government structures, continue until now. This is kind of flagship project of the government. At that point, we were introduced to the big friend of our prime minister that time, who is standing at the right of him. That guy is the president of the United Arab Emirates company, which is called MR Properties, which is used as a some kind of facade who is investing into the project. The company, which is then later on we find out in the contract, which is published 2 years after the signing of the contract, and 1 year after the construction site is starting to be built, we saw that it's basically newly formed company, and that the promises, wow, boom, 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 and that and that the promises at the beginning was that the whole investment will be 3.5 billion of the euros. Later on in the contract, we saw it's only 150 millions in investment, and 150 millions in the credit, which is our country is getting from the guys who is investing in it. If you are interested, and we'll not go into the financial and the legal framework of the deal, if you are interested, we can go for hours about that. It's a kind of one of the prime example of how the public-private partnership deals is functioning. So idea is to get all of the risks and all of the values from the public side, and all of the profits go to the public part, without any clear control of the process and of the governance of that scheme. In this particular case, our country made the Serbian country made the contract with the private investor, but giving up the land and everything else, the infrastructure, the preparation, the removal of the infrastructure, the railway, the displacement of around 200 families who were living there, and to get 38% of the shareholds in the newly formed company, and the foreign investor, the newly formed company from the Emirates, got the 68% of the shares in the new company by investing 150 millions in it. Not go into detail, you can judge by yourself that it's totally crazy deal. We were at that point we were active in the different small-scale initiatives regarding the urban development and different struggles in the neighborhoods. And we saw that in 2014 that something big will happen in Belgrade, and that is the maybe potentially trigger for the greater involvement of the citizens in the like local politics and decision-making process, like most broadly speaking. We wanted to show that the way of how the city is shaping is basically shaping ourselves, and that is basically investing we are investing into the future. So what the Waterfront Project is basically selling out our future. that how the city will look, and all of these contracts, it's like 30 years period of time, which is then you're giving up some kind of city for unknown reasons. By doing that, we organized plenty of so the debates, the actions. We published our newspapers, because in our the media situation is very polarized and under heavy control of the political elites and governing party, which is then also one of the pillars of how the project is functioning. One is the heavy political presence in it. Another one is like total media control. We didn't have any real debate around this issue in any mainstream media, and also the heavy police presence and the security forces combating any opposition to that issue. You see this with the DAC is one of our first protests in Belgrade. You will have like plenty of police presence there, and they even stopped it's just illustration, but it's interesting. So the guys, we were organizing protests on the day when they're signing the contract. So we are in the death street, this one, and the opposite of us in the building are the ministers who are signing the contract, and between us is the street when the trams are passing usually, and on the just the couple of moments before all of the people get out from the contract signing, the police stopped the 2 trams and said for the people like to get out, and like basically make the curtain between us and the people who are coming out of the building, which is like totally, you know, like crazy. You see on the other pictures that so we were take our symbol duck, which is representing that we were wanted to show that the whole of the project is a fraud. So in Serbia, the Serbian duck is meaning a fraud. So we wanted to have some kind of what is the waterfront. Waterfront is a fraud, the yellow duck, the duck. And we used that as a symbol. Our friends who are like very into the scenography and the cultural scene made us a duck from the styrofoam. The first duck was like too heavy. they made it very fast, and it's kind of not so well built. We took also the duck on the boat carnival. So you see the picture with the police. So they basically arrest us here because we have a duck on the boat carnival, which is carnival for boats. They are floating on the Danube. The carnival was opening by our mayor, so we wanted to provoke some reaction. Then that duck becomes a like symbol of different things and the cartoons and stuff. Also, what we saw after the couple of basically 2 years of making the campaign around the waterfront is that on the election night in 2016, there are plenty of elections in Serbia every 1.5 to 2 years, because it's kind of, you know, then the ruling party is becoming more and more powerful. So on the election night on 2016, one group of around 30 masked men entered the area of the waterfront, and with the heavy machinery around 2 o'clock in the morning, demolishing one part of the remaining buildings. So there were people in the restaurants and storage area who wouldn't go away, because the construction site is like gradually are widening. So they paid the hooligans to take that out. So the people called the police, and the police didn't react because they were like in very contact of structures. And why is that important? Is because as I said, it's all interconnected. So you have like people calling police. Police didn't react because this is like flagship of the project, and it's kind of very okay. And that was like we held 10 or 12 protests like every 1 or 2 weeks. There were like plenty of people on the street. It was very colorful, etc. The main demands of the protests are very basic, like the accountability of people who were responsible and to held responsible for the not responding to the situation, the mayor, the chief of the police, etc. But at one point we saw that this kind of protest, which continues through the 2016 and 2017, has the very big limits in actions, in the sense that we are not having any real response from the government, from the regime. We try to be non-violent and peaceful, and because of that it's kind of a little bit more colorful than its situation is demanding. Basically, what were our idea is to put some of the values which we believe into the protest and into this kind of civic movement. One of those is the anti-fascist struggle, which is in our region, especially in recent years, kind of under the thinking if on the Second World War we were on the right side or not. So, and because of that, we organized a big concert on the Liberation Day of Belgrade in the Second World War, which is nobody did in the like 20 years or stuff. We were also putting the like very left agenda. You will see on the protest there are plenty of slogans which are demanding the equal rights, the LGBT rights, the workers' rights. That was to implement that kind of agenda to mainstream it. Basically, when you have like 10 or 20,000 people on the streets, it's, by our opinion, it's your obligation to put your values in front and to then mainstream it. So that was our idea behind it. What was the response from the government, which is very similar to situation here, is that all of us were like labeled as a foreign traders, like a spies. We got, I don't know, I personally have like around 30 different court cases around, you can imagine, whatever not. So that was one pillar, like legal framework, legal system is pushing on you. Another framework is like this kind of media trashing and yellow press attacks, which is your personal life, you're killing the president, the CIA is around it, Rockefeller, very similar like situation in Soros, yeah. Very similar as here in Hungary, which then produces the threats on the street, threats on your personal life, etc. That is what happens, and that is what is continuing until now. At that point, we were starting to thinking that, okay, what is next? We can put people on the streets. We are mobilizing people. We have some kind of potential in that. We know how to make the protests. We know how to make the blockade. We also, at that point, started to be actively involved in the anti-eviction movement, which we boosted in Belgrade, etc. But there were limits to that, and one of that is the politics. Also, I wanted to show you, this is I talked to somebody, I don't know to whom, in the breaks. So this is one of the examples they're using. This was the local elections in 2000 and the municipal elections. So they make the fake lists as a dark list, so like to use it us as we are candidates, but we are not participating in those elections. That was in 2016 also. It was like, what? But yeah, that's the technique that is using. We continued to work in that period, like parallelly. We then tried to widen the scope of our work. So then plenty of people called us to work with the different local stuff, local small urban problems. In this is like some neighborhood assemblies and neighborhood protest in the new Belgrade against to protect some green area, or to prevent some building of the gas station, etc. They were like then due the course of all of 2017 was like basically blooming the civil resistance and civil groups and organizations in all of the city. Also, we opened the similar as a friends in Zagreb, the theme of the topic of the landfill, which then now in Belgrade they wanted to build the incinerator, the burning power plant for the landfill. So we opened that topic also, because on the summer of 2016 we had like big fire on the landfill, which lasted, I don't know, like 1 month, which was like also crazy situation. At that period, that is 2017, we started to thinking, okay, the next local elections are in March 2018. So are we going to be a candidate on that list, to be a citizen list on that elections? We decided yes, but we didn't want it to have like very like what is our idea. We don't have any real answers to what we want to the city. We want to crowdsource the vision. So we opened like one very long process of crowdsourcing the vision of Belgrade, like to writing up the program. It's similar like the people in Barcelona or in Zagreb did. So we opened it the internet platform. We did the talks in community centers, which is similar to neighborhood like small districts. Here with the talks of the people, like saying, okay, what is the idea for your neighborhood? What is what do you think? What are the problems to crowdsourcing, something like that? And that was like very innovative and very good, and people were having very good reaction to that. But the problem with that was that people are used to having the solutions. So we had kind of this was pre-campaign. So this was basically you're going like 6 months before the elections and talking to people. But people wanted to have very clear answers. What are you offering? So it was very, for us, strange situation. We're sitting like this and like in the circle and like talking with the people. Okay, you know, what are the problems in your neighborhood? Let's see together. And they're like asking, okay, but what are you want to do? Like, what is your solution? And we're like, but we don't know. We want to like collectively develop that. And that was one of the mistakes that we made, because people wanted very clear answers from us. So this was in the way too innovative for Belgrade 2017, late 17. It was also internet portal, very like forum, which was very very well visited. This was, we also still a little bit what the process then gives us back is the problems. That was also one of the mistakes that we made. So all of the people were talking is what are the problems, what are the problems, what are the bad things, look what they are doing to us, you know, this is bad, everything is going to apart, and we crowdsourced that. So we said, okay, yes, this is a problem, we will say we are against this kind of stuff. Also, our pre-campaign gives us no problems on the ground. We were then weighted by the right-wing groups and the people who are connected to the ruling party with the same stuff as we are seeing here. You are like paid by Soros, you are foreign trades, bashing from the yellow press, but everything is basically the same. So the Orban and Vučić are cooperating on that totally. That also, at that point, the attacks on the social media and the kind of making the fake news, fake profiles, fake pages, fake bot. So that in Serbian political ecosystem, things that will happen later on in the Trump campaign in America was like basically tried out in the Serbian context. So making the public opinion on the internet is totally under control of the bots, fake profiles, the astroturfing. They will like putting millions in it, especially because the Facebook and the Twitter has the algorithm which then who gives them more money. It's it's promoted the most. Then we, after that long process of rethinking what we are going to do, what are crowdsourcing the program and making the structure so horizontal that we were late always, like late like in setting up what is the program, late in setting up what is the list, late in setting up the launching the campaign, who was like very similar that we heard in Spain case, like people were donating everything, they were writing to us, they were like giving out design and stuff. We formed the list. List was also on the zip model, like half male, half female. And also we did we did also one of the mistakes that we didn't, because the city is you're voting in the Belgrade, you're voting for the city assembly, and the city assembly is then voting for a mayor. So basically you are then voting for the councillors. So we didn't want to go with the candidate for the mayor, because, you know, like that's not how the system is functioning. All of the other list has the candidates. We were like kind of, yeah, but we are group, this is kind of collective. That was mistake, because people are used to be very simple into the how the politics are functioning. Teams that we were then induce and put it in as a campaign team were very similar to those that we are dealing before. More of them were on the side of the negative, like what we are against, and we developed so much program that it was like 50 pages, which was like nobody has, like all other political parties and people who were on the elections have like less than we had, like all of them on the pile, which then nobody would read that. It was like, okay, you're smart, but simplify. That is the. Also, we tried to be a little bit funny. We got this Renault 4 from our friend, and our other friends made the duck from it, so it was Duck Mobile. We use it to in a campaign to drive and to like to have like something on the actions. We tried to involve as much people as it was possible. It was like hundreds of people do something in the campaign. All of the work was voluntarily. All of the campaign was crowdfunded. It was like it was very good energy in it, and like people like donating the time and the design, and the video that you saw was from the friend who was like put his time and energy and equipment in it. It was like totally interesting times. It was very harsh winter. Elections were in March 2018. It was like snowy, and it was like for us also mistake, because we didn't planned that you cannot have like plenty of events outdoors. Suddenly people are like cold and they don't want to stay along outside. I don't know why, but yeah, that's it. We had like very support from different progressive European forces, and also people from the different similar civic movements from all of the Serbia. And this is we can see the video now, no? To take a little water. Okay, yeah, that was the song. Interesting with the song is that we film it in the one empty abandoned military barracks, which then use it as a like squatted place for some guys from the movement squatted it later on. So it was also one of our things that we are like trying to make the spaces also for the different political imagination, to say it like that. Some of the things of what we did also in the campaign is like some were the things that we are advocating for. One of the most successful thing is with the public transportation. I will not go into detail with that, because yeah, it's not so important for you guys. this is also some of the actions. We built the house on the riverbank where the people are building illegal houses on the springs on the Danube when the Belgrade is getting water. So we have like 100 people who build illegally houses there, and we built the houses on the bank, and also we reported ourselves to the police, but nobody then reacted. It was like huge success. We also blocked the landfill, and it was like also chaos. It reduces the conflicts on the site. It's also continuation of the campaign. So you have the people with the Putin mask are peered and like trying to threaten you. It's thing. All of the campaign was crowdfunded. It was around, I guess, 10,000 euros. This is how then we reported to the people. It's anonymized the names of the people and amounts, and we send it to all of the people. It was kind of very innovative in the Serbian politics. After all, we got the 3.5%. It was very elections were very so dispersion of the votes was very great. You had the president at that time, Aleksandar Vučić, who is like constantly in the campaign also for the local elections. They got the 45%, and all of the other people are like big political parties and stuff. So we had like around 30,000 votes, 3.5%. Which was very great success in the sense of how other functions and how we are like first time and not knowing what we are doing basically. So that was like very good result. We leave behind plenty of parliamentary parties and plenty of old political parties. What?
This is going to be major in Belgrade. The election of being the
for the city assembly, yeah.
City assembly, yeah.
The threshold is 5.
Ah, so you didn't get inside.
We didn't. Yeah. No.
And did you have a Green Party there?
No, we have 5 Green parties, but it's 0.1%. It's not existing.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
You really have 5 Green parties?
Yeah, basically 5. And we
don't even have one.
No, but it functions that so the ruling party has like own Green Party, the opposition has the Green Party. There are like 2 Green parties which is not existing and stuff like that. So we run as an independent citizen list. You see that all of the males were there as a mayoral candidates. It's also, this picture shows us how things are functioning in Serbia. After that, we continue to do what we are doing all of the years. We are active in like this kind of anti-eviction movement, in the different struggles in the neighborhoods, in the blocks, in the different totally whole variety of stuff which is happening. And what is unclear in uncertainty now, that we in recent year, in the last year, we were working with the different groups, similar groups to ours in Serbia, in different towns in Serbia, and there is very big civil potential and unrest and the movement also in different towns, and we are cooperating with different, like 20 of towns in Serbia where the similar initiatives emerged. So now it's the question how we continue. For us, we can talk more about the pitfalls and what were our mistakes. But for us, one of the idea was to try with the Belgrade elections to see how the things with the values and our organization is functioning, and the whole how the political spectrum is reacting, and what are the obstacles and what are the threats in that. You see plenty of threats. I forgot to mention with the money, for example. So you're like bragging, okay, we were crowdfunding, we have like everybody's volunteering and stuff like that. And the reaction from the public was, you're not serious then. And we were like, how that come? We know that those like regular political figures and the parties, they're stealing the money. We know that, but then they also know how to deal with money. You know, like if you going to be into situation to deal with money, and you don't know how to steal, then you are weak, and then you are like not so serious. And we're like, okay, this is some serious fuck up in the minds of people how the things are functioning. But that is the landscape. Also for us, the next local municipal elections are basically the main thing. So Belgrade has 17 municipalities, and elections are in 2020, with the parliamentary elections also approaching at that time.
Okay, I have a few questions, and then
sorry if I talk too much, too fast, too unstructured stuff.
I think it will be a short one. Who is the we that we are? You always say we, so what is the we?
That's the excellent question. So the structure is put it like that we have like coordinational body which consisting around 20 to 30 people. The number is changing constantly because people come and go and then have obligations or not, responsibilities, etc. So yeah, that is kind of one very horizontal body which is then having the working groups on different issues, and it's in constantly meeting and deciding what is happening, and yeah.
And how is this coordination group, or the name of your organization is Belgrade Will Not Drown? So that's the coordination group, as far as I understand. So how are these kind of informal, spontaneous movements, if they are, or protests, how are they related to a more organized group? Because I think, for example, in Hungary, what we are seeing right now is that there are many NGOs that are very structured and organized and are working, and then there are these big protests, and there is no bridge between the two things. Like, people are either angry, they go on the streets, there is tens of thousands of them, and then there are the nice NGOs and groups that are working parallelly, but so the movements just die down. Like, there is no coordination group coming out of the movements or the protests. So I just would like to understand how the protests and the more organized kind of running in the election kind of group comes out. And now what happens now that you are not in the election? So how is the formal and the informal?
A Serbian case is also kind of a little bit different in the sense that people are very tired and fed up with the regular politics. So by all of the surveys, the declining trust in the political parties, the political system is going down. So if you're saying you're like political platform or actor or whatever initiative, you are having kind of dots that you're the same as whoever not, which is basically you can then judge that, also confront that by the process and like by the time which is you're investing in the different organization groups, etc., and showing them that you're doing things differently. I don't have a very clear answer to that, but what were our approach is to help different groups and in neighborhoods and stuff without clearly saying that were us. So we're not labeling every group that is approaching us. We are like helping them with the contacts, with the equipment, with the know-how, with the, little bit money if we have. But we are not labeling that as a part of our stuff, which then is also a problem because later on it's unclear what is happening. So in that sense, I'm not sure, and I have like very divided opinion about it. So in one sense, it's okay to like invest in different initiatives and different groups, but then you must more and more invest as the process is continuing to make some kind of confluence, or how to say it, like unification or coalition or association when it comes to the elections. Because when it functions very great in these times. So this, like, you're not in the campaign, everything is great, you're fighting for like common good or greater good or some ideological things, and then everything is fine. But when the campaign is started, simplification and banalization of everything is like totally crazy, and you cannot do that. And I'm personally, I'm not satisfied with that, but that elections that we were in show us that. You cannot have like, yeah, but you know that neighborhood is like also there are our things and it's the same. People don't even can like think about that. They want like clear, this is the number, this is the face, and we are for that or not for that.
Yeah, let me try it in another way. So was it your group that started the protests, or was it the protests that just started on their own and then your group came out of it and kind of used the theme of the protest?
No, we started plenty of things, included the protest, yeah. But we are not so linear in our, like, we are not just one. So you have also your neighborhood group, or you are involved in the different initiatives also. So it's kind of very eclectic situation. But this was our thing, yeah.
And then what's the role of the elections? So was it a failure that you didn't get into the town hall, or was it just like, did you see it as a failure, or you just saw it as one form of democracy and then let's move on to other forms? Or like, is the big goal to get into town hall, or was it just one thing that you tried and then you are going to move on to other things?
Well, I would say it's just a one thing. It's it has the things which are affecting people in the sense of the core group. So if you have some kind of very big efforts, then push it to the goal to enter the city hall. If you are like if you not succeed in that, people are get a little bit depressed. So that was like 1 month or 2 months or couple of months for some people to be very healed, to say like that. But if we are looking to as us as a core group or the people around us, I will say that the biggest thing, the biggest success is that we like stayed in the same position. So we are still doing the same thing, maybe with a more and more effort and more hope. So in that sense, elections are just one thing, and it shows that you must then also develop the mechanisms of care and self-help and stuff, which in situations like Serbian you have like really very like big threats and stuff. You must include that in calculation. If you're going to election, then everybody must be prepared that you're getting the threats on the street, and you will your personal life will be on the front pages of yellow press, and the president will call you a traitor and the Soros spy. Which is, and I have also one how we try to little bit convert that is with the symbol of the duck and with something which is kind of funny and the humor and stuff like that, which then after you go to the elections kind of slips in some normal politics. I was in favor that duck was our candidate, but.
So why does a movement or an organization that occupies houses, does graffiti on the wall, I don't know, gets arrested, why does an organization like this want to even get into City Hall? What's the point? Isn't the whole point being outside? Like, why would you even want to wear the suits if the kind of campaign film that you had is the exact opposite of what's happening in Town Hall?
We are believing that the different approach and the different politics is possible. So for us, that's kind of also one part of our lives. It's nothing different. So institutions are basically made as we are. So in that sense, if we are trying to make the society function differently, then can be also that can be achieved through the institutions. There are two waves. I'm not so like, oh yeah, we must make only parallel systems and like communes and stuff. I guess it's both ways. It's kind of, you must change institutions, but you cannot change the proper institutions if you don't have your own institutions which you're worked on and emerged from. So you cannot change the city, for example, the cultural center, if you didn't make your own cultural center from the scrap. So in that sense, then you can then maybe implement something or make some kind of innovation in your city. I don't know.
I have one
Maybe.
final question, and then
Maybe
I will
not.
give
Maybe
the floor to you. Yeah, just one more, and then we will. So another kind of contradiction that I saw or heard in your narrative is that you have, I think you have pretty strong leftist values, but then you go on to do a participatory process of making the program. And so I think that is a dilemma. Like, if you have your own vision of what a society or what a city should look like, then that's what you should push. If you do a participatory process where you say, I have no idea what to do, tell me what to do, then it's not going to be your vision. It's going to be a million other people's vision, which you then try to blend into something which is probably not yours. So how do you reconcile having your own vision and having very strong values with doing a participatory procedure with the input of people who may totally disagree with you?
But it, because we started through the years, and we were very persistent in the values that rejects the people who are like on the opposite side from ours. It's very, you know, like if you're saying we are for the solidarity city and the housing as a human right and the pro-LGBT and you know, stuff like that, then the participatory process is not so open. It rejects some people. I'm not having the dots in that. So it's kind of, yeah, this is our values. You can say your, but sorry. Yeah, so in that sense, I guess that the participatory process is just to having the more in-depth of the solutions and to see what are the most local problems. So if we are going to the neighborhood level, people were talking about, you know, they are like cleaning our street at 2 o'clock in the morning, that should be differently, or this traffic light is not on the right place. It's not something so big. So it's not the process of how you should make the employment system and what is the minimal wage or something like that. So in that sense, it's kind of also not so in-depth. And people on the local level, people are not so eager to talk about the big things. They want like their neighborhood to be better. It's a quality of life, kind of, you know.
I will ask Moni for help with the microphone.
Like liberal things.
Me? Well, I have I knew the story of the duck. I think it's quite interesting. My question is how did you build this new symbol? I don't understand exactly if it's a symbol against corruption or it's a superhero of the people, or it's both. It's a kind of symbol of the 99 of the people, and at the same time remembering every day that this is a symbol of corruption. And what is the importance of new symbols for these new narratives? That's my question.
Thank you. Yeah, we started as to use it as a symbol of the particular project, as a fraud, as a corruption, etc. Idea was to become a superhero and to run to elections. I didn't succeed in that. But yeah, after some times, the notion that duck is kind of not so serious and it's kind of, yeah, you're making joke of it, prevailed. So we later on, you will see also in the actions, we a little bit put the duck down. And that's, for me, it's a bad thing. So we should like push it to the end as some kind of transformation from the like very nice symbol and something which is funny and in a superhero mode. So the duck is then combating these guys of politicians, and that's the savior, to say like that. But yeah, it was preserved in the public opinion, with in the public as something which is not so serious, and that is not the way the politics is done, and it's kind of you know, like we are so making the joke of everything. So
I don't know if you know, is there any saying, a sentence in Serbia around the duck? Because I don't know, I suppose you know the case of Brazil, that yeah, it was the right wing who took the duck into the streets, and there's a sentence, a saying in Brazil, it's quem paga o pato, who pays the bill. It's kind of in the Olympics. Okay, we have the Olympics, but who is paying the expenses. And it was quite strange because the initial symbol, it was from a clown, pretty known clown, Leo Bassi, that lives in Madrid. And he has even a charge it's an atheist's charge around the duck, and it's a philosophical atheist. It's fantastic, and I have sent now the pictures of the duck. Yeah. And during the Indignados movement, no one remembers, but during the occupation of the square, Leo Bassi went inside and put an amazing 30 meters white duck inside the Puerta del Sol in Madrid. And I remember that there were some people like kind of, this is a serious revolution. And Leo was saying, no, this is a fine revolution. If I can't dance, it's not my revolution. So I think it's very interesting how to do it, but it's strange when right wing takes a yellow duck in Brazil, it's okay. But when you, an activist and grassroots movements take it, it's not serious. So how do you imagine to transform an icon of fights that at the same time is funny for the people but serious for politicians or the media? I don't have the answer, that's why.
Yeah, for us it was also a big problem because our duck, which is totally crazy. Those people then started to say, but who imagined it, who has the rights to duck and stuff like that. So we were like, make the first duck in 2015, and after on in 2016 when everything exploded, it's also connected with the Brazil, and then you had like a wave of like attacks from the different press, not just yellow press. Yeah, that is the conspiracy. You know, like the people are so confused, and they're making the confusion even much greater. They're showing that the Brazil, the Serbia, and later on they also use the duck in the Russia. So the independent journalists figure out that Medvedev has it was like a huge scandal with the houses and the real estate that Dmitry Medvedev has, and also they figure out that he has like the duck house in some of the real estate things, and then they had a couple of protests with putting up also signs with the yellow duck. And imagine how that then reflects in the society, which is toxic as Serbian is, with the control of the media. So you have like Brazil, Russia against and the ties with the Russia is also kind of in Serbia big issue, and the Serbia. Come on, somebody told you what to do, and you're like, what? You're no crazy. They're totally different stuff, and so that was hard part. And because of our internal dilemma, how politics is serious and what is supposed you to do when you are in public sphere, and that makes you also kind of thinking, okay, maybe we are getting too far with the duck, you know. It's election, it's a real thing. How you can candidate the duck? I was for that.
We had a chicken.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, the question. Sorry. So it's I had a question about like it was interesting because just like in the couple of hours before we saw a campaign of Zagreb, and then they were I saw here in your movie I just saw young faces, all as a kind of like partying style. And they movie, and I think they were older people, elderly people, and usually in municipality elections, elderly people are voting because the young people, they don't really care about. Maybe they have opinion about, but I was a couple of times counting votes, and I never see people younger than 30, but mostly was 60 and 50 and 80 and 90. They are coming to vote, but youngsters are not interested in the municipality things until they don't have children. Because then first time they meet with the kindergarten problem and everything in the street, and you can push the baby car, whatever. And the other thing is that you have the duck, and you're talking a lot about the duck, but I didn't see your candidate for mayor, and it's a very personal issue that somebody have to be the leader. And I saw the faces of 50-year-old people, you know, like nice mayors, and you didn't see there was a duck. So it could be funny, but who want to vote for a dog with two tails and with a duck? So it's like people maybe don't think that you are serious enough, and this could be a problem, I think, because for a 60-year-old somebody like, oh, okay, they're funny, but I'm not voting for them because what they do in the municipality.
I think this is a good question. I actually wanted to ask I'm going to attach a question to that, which is, who are your voters? Because I think that's your question. If your experience is that it's mostly people who are older than, let's say, 30 or 40 tend to vote, and you got 3.5%, and your videos were all targeted towards young people. So do you know who voted for you, or was it on purpose, or did you know that it's not going to appeal to other kinds of people?
So we approached these elections kind of as investment, in that sense that we wanted, of course, we wanted to have 5%. I don't want to tell lies here, but we approached to them that our role in the society at this particular point in the Serbian society is to set up some of the values, to set up the mainstream, some of the topics that we were dealing in the campaign, and to set up the new, in this case it's young, group of people who will be next couple of years or decades some new political elite, to say it like that. So our basically goal of the elections is those three things. That is elaboration now after thinking and evaluating what we did. So, but what we were trying out here in the elections is how things can be function differently, and also if can function differently. In that sense, so that was the idea. So if the municipal election in 2020 are kind of main goal, this was just the tryout. So if it is possible to appeal the young voters, so why are all the people are young is because the young people are abstinent, they are not voting. So for us was the idea to like little bit attract people into the politics, because that is the value for the future. It is not righteous on the on the day when the votes are counting, and it's not good for the particular goal of the elections, but in the years that are coming, I guess this is kind of one of the investments. And also it is show out that in the core of the group people were not so prepared to that. It was like plenty of second thoughts and plenty of then re-evaluation and thinking what gone wrong and what they are now politicians and stuff like that. So it's also kind of, you know, process of growing, or the main, I'm not sure if I can explain properly, but people who are like first time in this kind of actions, going to elections in the context which is hostile, they cannot, like, they're also questioning that, and they must be prepared for the battles which are going to come. This is not thing which you are doing now and then after, okay, we lost 3.5, we don't do this anymore. Everybody will do this again. that's the thing. So yeah, but we needed we lacked the little bit more of the professional politics tactics in that. But what the results showed that we were in the 4 central municipalities, we had more than 8% in each of the central municipalities, and also like 3 municipalities which are on the outskirts of Belgrade, we have like around 4.5, 4.7%. So it's a good for the next cycles. And also in the rural areas of Belgrade, we were like totally bad. Which is.
So my question is quite different from the 2 previous questions. You started your talk with the Waterfront Project, and Belgrade Central Station used to be there, and it closed down in last summer. So how can a city exist without a central station? And well, what's unpleasant, practically there is no connection by train between Hungary and Budapest and Belgrade.
How it can? It can. So no, idea for the area of the waterfront, it was from the, I don't know, from ever. It was kind of wet dream of every architect and urban planner. So it was like, we have like, city has like more than 50 different plans for that area. In all of that area, the plans, the removal of the railway station is there. So they build a new main railway station, which is a little bit farther from the city, which now existing as a main station. Problem with the railways is more complex than we can now elaborate, but as in every transitional country, these big state-owned companies is used to be partially how to say yeah, and then to privatized. To have like the partially new formed companies around the railways. So you now have the railways, the company which operates the tracks, the company who operates the trains, the locomotives and stuff like that, to the goal of privatizing the complex. And in the meantime, all of the infrastructure is getting worse and worse. And at one point, nobody is noticing, because the train was like from the Belgrade to the Budapest, which is 400 kilometers, is traveling, I don't know, 10 hours on stuff like that. And if the train is not existing, nobody will notice, because nobody was traveling even though like 10 hours. You will come by car for 4 hours or something like that. So in that sense, yeah, they're really purposely ruining the big state-owned companies for the sake of privatization of it. It's a sad story, but it affects all of the companies in Serbia. One of the things, it's also privatization of the land. In this particular case, it's the Belgrade waterfront. So if you are lacking the privatizing the companies or the enterprises, what is only left is the land and the air and the water. And that is happening now. So that's the third wave of privatization is happening. For people in the Budapest, maybe interesting thing is with the water company. So just recently, the Budapest and the Belgrade Water Company make the joint new company with the idea to go to the market. So maybe we will in the next years face the not privatization of the water companies in our cities as such, but some kind of very unclear entity which is then privatized. And then you got the professional and expert governance in it, and the profit who is then extracting from our cities. So that's also interesting. In the case of Belgrade, the public transportation is like more than 50% is private. So it's kind of, they're privatizing everything.
If there are no more questions from you, I have one more, but please think about comments and questions. So we haven't really talked about you as a person. So why are you in this? Do you want to be a politician, or why are you in these struggles, and what's your goal? Is this your paid job, or do you do this as a volunteer? So let us understand who these people are who are doing this in Belgrade, with you as an example.
What is the personal story? It's a hard question, but let's start. I was raised in the suburbs of Belgrade, on Karaburma, which is kind of workers area, and my grandfather was the auto mechanics, like to repair cars and stuff. And I guess that I'm into this kind of things because I like to fix things, not the mechanical things. I'm not good in that, but in like the fixing because all of things that I started to do from like previous times and from the like 15 years of like kind of professional, it's not professional life, is like trying to improve the, you know, like little bit the cultural scene and the squatting and the neighborhood park and the cycling spaces, the pets and protect. So it's a little bit fixing the thing. So I guess that is the most thing that me personally I'm interesting, which is more maybe connected with the compulsive nature of my person. What we are trying now to make the kind of ecosystem of organizations which then are also trying to have some kind of financial stability behind it, to then allow the people to be involved in this kind of very hostile politics situation. And I'm now, and that is the goal for next years, is to think out about these things as if it is possible to have some kind of product of it. A product where you have like implemented your values into. So can we make some kind of the profit from our activities? So in this sense that maybe that is, you have like the spaces for culture. You also have like buildings. Why we are not thinking to movement have like the, I know in a couple of countries it's also possible, but you have like you build the housing which is then equal and fair for all the people who are involved in that and stuff like that. So I guess if we didn't purposely develop that ecosystem, that we will be very weak to the pressures of this kind of institutional politics. Because when you're like thinking in that, the institution is making your behavior different, and you must take that in count, and also the amount of the money and amount of the pressure and amount of interest are in that you must have some kind of support system around it. So in that sense, I'm totally thinking about that kind of ecosystem things, and I think it's possible to develop that kind of products, which are, I'm just basically now saying that, but yeah. Why we don't have like the production of fruits or whatever? It's rooted in your values, no? Maybe that is the goal. Like a little bit Marxist. You have like the workforce, but you have also the equipment for the production, and then you are kind of free, kind of. The global system it's more stronger than you, but still.
So when you were talking about going into politics and running in the elections, you presented it as something that was, well, you said that you had second thoughts, but it felt kind of natural in a way, or to me it felt like there weren't a lot of critiques or conflicts around it. And at the same time, I understand that your movement is made up of several different organizations. So it's not one organization, but are there organizations in the Belgrade activist sphere or civil society that really criticize you for going into politics? Not you personally, but the group. So do they feel that you are abandoning the cause, or that you are not going in the right direction, and that you have to resist rather than try to change the institutions? And I'm asking this because in Hungary, I think for any civil society organization to go into politics is very risky, not only because politics is toxic, but also because other organizations and people will think that you are a traitor, basically, because you are making yourself dirty with politics.
For us was kind of a little bit easier than that, because we have like this kind of years of fighting for something which also didn't succeed. We didn't stop the Waterfront Project. It's going, yeah, we slowed it a lot, but they're like building the high rises and the shopping mall in that sense. That is happening, and our answer to that is like, let's try to change a little bit system from inside. So in that kind of people were like saying, yeah, you should add, we support that. And we also put a little more of the effort into different groups and the collectives, especially from the, like left-wing sphere, to help us in the campaign, and they were like also on our list and stuff like that. We didn't make the coalition because in our political system it's very hard to organize the political party. You need 10,000 signatures, which must be stamped with the notary. You know, yeah, 10,000. What for a party? Yeah, and to pay 10 or 15,000 euros for that, because you must. Yeah, and then this was the citizen list. So you're like going to the election as a citizen list, and then all of the people are by their name. You know, you can say this is a citizen list ABC or whatever. It's not the coalition of the parties and stuff. So on the list were people from the different organizations, collectives and stuff. So we put a lot of effort into that. There were also critiques why you are not saying that you are like why you are not opening, say that this is the, I don't know, left red I don't know, list, or but that was also, that is also normal, and everything shows up on the ground how the things are functioning. So it's more important to work with the people on the ground than to state that you are something. So and usually, yeah, usually that kind of collision is very visible in the campaign. So it's, nobody cares if you say that you are, look at just the political parties. We have like the Socialist Party, which is, you know, doing everything opposite. So it's more important what are you doing than how you are calling yourself.
Okay, I have one last question, if you guys don't have any more, which is the title of the of this discussion, of this workshop. How do you create a greater vision from a smaller issue? And my question to you is whether you have managed to do that. Do you think you have managed to create a greater vision of Belgrade from one issue of the waterfront? And if yes, what's that vision?
Not totally successful. We started to make that vision, and I don't know how that vision is going to be finished. Maybe it's not going to be finished ever. But I will say that what we succeeded is that we mainstreamed that we should, that kind of basic municipal things for me. What is the municipal movement and all the civil movement for me is that we are caring for our neighbors, that we are trying to make a good city for all, and that we are taking account differences between people and try to be more solidar, more equal, and more sustainable to our surroundings, and to put that surrounding and to put a little bit effort or more effort in that, make the city and our surrounding and neighborhood better for some future. So I will say that kind of very basic stuff, that we care about our neighbors, that we cared about our neighborhood, that we try to innovate, make some things, some innovations in how things are functioning, but maybe in that sense we cannot even succeed anyhow. So maybe our role is not to succeed in this, but to like put things a little bit further. So in that sense, maybe our role is not to win on the elections, or maybe we cannot win it on this kind of agenda, but I think it's important to have something of this.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is the end of this workshop, and thank you for participating.